Hi everyone. Hi, welcome. I'm Louise, for those that don't know me, and tonight we're going to do a yin session. And the yin session will be for the upper body and mainly into the shoulders as well. So things that you'll need if you've got blocks, or if you haven't got blocks, then have a cushion, firm cushion or something like that. A bolster, if you do have one, is going to be really handy. If not, kind of get a firm towel, really wrap it up nice and tight. A belt, or you can always use a dressing gown cord as well. And I think then we're ready to go. Okay, so I'm just going to turn that off a second. Okay, so first of all, I'm just going to get you to bring yourselves down to sitting. So we'll just take a few moments here just to be able to settle the body. Okay, so once you sat down, just taking your time, we're just going to close our eyes and take a few breaths just to allow ourselves just to come to settle down and just prepare for our practice. So just gently closing the eyes. Okay, so this may be the first time today that you've actually sat and given yourself some time. So just tuning in, just seeing how you feel. And just noticing then the quality of your breathing. Just noticing just the fluctuations of the body. So just staying with the breath for a while and just tuning in. So yin practice. Yin practice, we're going to work quite slowly and hold the postures for a number of minutes. So mainly working on connective tissue, or sometimes known as fascia. So this, if we kind of maybe talk about it quite crudely, it's kind of a stocking inside the body which holds our structure. So it weaves in and out of blood vessels, arteries, veins, the bone, the muscle. It does give our structure. Now this can sometimes get knocked and restricted depending on certain movements that we do. So if we're all the time doing the same movement over and over again, we can find that we can start to maybe get certain stress on joints or on the muscles. And that is also going to massively affect the fascia, or it may be in fact the fascia which is affecting the joints and the muscles. So we work with a yin practice, the same principle as bracing teeth. So with this, when you have your teeth braced, or I'm sure you know someone who has their teeth braced, the process is done over a number of months and even years in some cases. So we're working very slowly and just all the time just tuning in just to what our body actually feels and what it needs. So there's a slight emphasis on stress on the joints. Now it's a stress in a good way, as it is for bracing your teeth. So we're not stressing to the point where we really feel that we're gritting our teeth together. Okay. So before we do anything, we're just going to now start just to set our intention for our practice. So just bringing your hands together and just even noticing as you bring the hands together how that even feels. Gentle pushing of the right and the left coming together. We're lifting with a nice straight spine. Again, just noticing the quality of your breathing. And bow the head, closing the eyes. So time now just for you to tune in and just to solely work on yourself. Time for you. So just dedicating the practice to yourself. Giving full, complete attention to yourself. And then bringing the thumbs up just to the space between the eyes. Just to reaffirm your intention. And then taking the hands up over the crown. So your intention is then out there. And then we draw the hands back down again towards the heart center. And releasing the hands down to the knees. So working to open up in the top part of our back and across the shoulders. So we're going to begin first of all just by lying down. Now when you lie down, if you have a bolster you can use that. If not, use cushions, use a rolled up towel. So anything that's going to be able to pad out behind your back. So you're going to just bring yourself just up towards your cushions or your support and lay yourself down over it. So we feel that the chest is nice and open. Support the head. So even if you take the head just into the hands and then get your fingers kind of into the little grooves underneath the top of the neck. So right at the base of the occipital bone. Just a gentle bit of pressing in there, just to dip the chin in and then laying the head down. So if you don't have the support going right back underneath the back of the head, if you're feeling there's more of a strain in the neck than in the chest, then there will be. So you want to make sure that you have some support underneath the head so you're feeling that there's more an open feeling in the chest. And then turn so the inner arms and palms are facing up towards the ceiling. We're just going to close our eyes here. And just again, just focusing just on the breathing. Now, when we're working with a yin emphasis, we're working so we find our edge. Now, what we mean by that is when we stretch the body and we find our edge in that stretch. And we're kind to ourselves when we find that edge. It's not working beyond that. It's working at that edge. Now, once we find that edge and we're comfortable there with it, then we become still and we wait. And in some cases, we wait and we wait and we wait. Now, as we're waiting, we start then for the body just to start to unravel things that are going on inside. So from there, on the next step would be a surrendering. So it's not only just waiting, we have to surrender ourselves to that waiting. So when we surrender ourselves, we're being patient and we're being fully present. And there is a difference. The surrendering is almost similar to a child. If a child knows that when you mean no on something and the child, so there is that kind of a heavy sigh, that sigh where they've completely given up. They've surrendered fully to your instruction. So in this, just surrender yourself completely. So you're laying back and just allow yourself the time just to focus just solely on the breathing. If you're familiar with the Ujjayi breathing, you can bring that in, a slightly raspier sounding breath. Now, in order for the fascia or connective tissue to actually make any change, any differences, we need to be kind of holding here for approximately 3 minutes or longer. So keeping that attention with the breathing, soft, smooth. Notice whether you're drifting or you're able to just bring your awareness back onto what it is you're doing and fully surrender to that. So remember, we feel a slight stressing of the body, but stressing in a good way. Now, if you're quite flexible, then you may find that being in this pose is not going to particularly kind of feel any different to you. So we take the focus then more into an emotional state. So we can start then just to allow the body just to unravel and to let go of the day or the month or the year. Okay, and then we can slowly start just to bring that awareness back. Start to bend the knees, placing the hands down, and we can start to bring ourselves back up to sitting. We can straighten out with the legs and keeping the hands there, just maybe working a little cat stretch, just easing forward and easing back. So yin posture work is great for just allowing the body just to tune back in, just to reassess just really how we're feeling. When we start to let the body relax and bring it back into its natural state, we find then lots of other things start to unravel. Okay, so we're just going to now take that into a twist. So we can just move the supports out of the way, lower yourself down, bring your legs into a crooked knee position. Now we press down with the feet and just scoot the bottom over a little bit to the right hand side. Bring your right leg over the top. If you're one of those people who can manage to get the foot round on the calf muscle, then by all means take it right round. Your arms are going out to the sides and we aim to keep the shoulders down. And then just slowly start to let the legs just fall over, just over to that left hand side. Now notice what's happening on the shoulder that you've moved away from. So again, we need to feel the edge in that stretch. We don't want to feel as if we're working into it. So we're just allowing it to be there. And then again, we're just closing the eyes. Allow ourselves just to be still. And we surrender to the breath. Now you may even find after a few breaths that your edge starts to shift. And only when we get that feeling, you may find a slight slump, and the body will want to maybe then just be readjusted, just back again, so we feel our edge. So keep noticing just whereabouts it is you're feeling that. It may not be the most obvious part. So although we're working the upper back and into the shoulders, we're also working into the lower part of the leg. We're working into the hips slightly. Now you can have an issue with the foot, and that can affect up into the shoulder. So the connective tissue is all joined, it's all the way running through the body. Okay, just taking 2 more breaths here. Remember to fully commit right to that breath, right to the end of the breath. And then slowly start to make your way back up. Okay, we'll uncross the legs. Just allow the body just to equalize just for a moment. Bringing the hips back into the center. So just close the eyes, just see how that feels. So often when we've been just adjusted into one position, and then when we've been there a little while, when we come back into the state of alignment, we can feel maybe little fluctuations through the skin. The skin may itch slightly. We feel like we have an itch somewhere. It's just the fascia just starting to unwind. So once we feel we've equalized, again, press down with the feet, scoot the bottom over a little bit to the left-hand side. Bringing that left leg over the right, and then let the legs just fall over to that right-hand side. Again, if you are one of those that can get your foot round and then wrap it round. But don't feel as if you have to really push and stress the body too much to be able to get there. Again, then notice where you're feeling this twist. And just be aware that both sides might feel completely different. So you may be able to twist further on one side than what you can on the other. And again, this goes with just daily habits of how we maybe pick a bag up and we always throw it on the same shoulder. When we pick things up, we always set off on the same foot. We pick things up with the same arm. So these all have a knock-on effect through the body. You know, especially if you happen to do a lot of driving or playing golf and you're turning, looking over your shoulder, you're going to have a range of movement greater on one side than the other. So we're working for balance, just easing up on both sides just to find a happy balance. Okay, and then slowly start to bring it back to the center. We can uncross the legs and just level ourselves up. And this time just straighten out with the legs. Bring the arms down by the sides. Just close the eyes. Just take a few deep breaths. Again, if you can tune into that Ujjayi breathing. The Ujjayi breathing is really going to help you keep your focus, keep the body warm from the inside. Okay, and then slowly open the eyes. And we can just bend the knees. We'll roll over to the right side. And then push and bringing yourself back up to sitting. Okay, grab yourselves a block or a cushion to sit upon. And again, the legs just a nice, easy cross-legged. If that's really uncomfortable, just sit with the legs straight out, or you can have them straight out at a bit of an angle. Then just roll the shoulders back. So let's just see where we are just with the neck and how that feels. So I'm going to turn the head first of all, just going to your right hand side. So I'm going to mirror image you. So I'll be turning to, it'll look like it's the right to you. So it'll be my left. So I'm turning the head, just looking over onto that right side. And noticing whether the left shoulder pulls in. Hopefully not. And then bringing it back. And then over to the other side. And then bringing it back. Bring the chin in towards the chest. And back up again. And then lifting the head, looking up towards the ceiling. And back in. Okay, so we're going to go back over again to the right side. We're going to stop just before we get to the shoulder and look down towards the armpit. Bring that right hand up and take it on top of the head. So just let the weight of the arm draw the head down. Take the left arm just out to the side and placing the fingertips onto the floor. Now we're only going to stay here for just roughly about a minute. So working on the scalene muscles at the side of the neck here. Giving them a nice stretch out. So these are joined to the first and second ribs. So important for the breathing if we're restricted in the neck, and it may hinder our breathing. So being careful not to pull down. Again, just feel that gentle stretch. So feeling our edge. So no pulling, no forcing. So allowing that, the weight of the hand just to rest. And surrendering to that stretch. Okay, so just opening the eyes. Let the hand slide away from the head and bring it underneath so it goes into the cheek, and then lifting the head back up and bring it back to the center. Okay, and we're going to do the same on the other side. So we're going to turn the head to the left. So before it gets to the shoulder, bringing that head down. So looking down towards the armpit. Bring the hand up and over. So hand just rests on the head. And then with our right arm, we're just stretching that away, just with the fingertips onto the floor. So we'll feel that long stretch out through the neck. Again, just closing the eyes, just allow the attention just to be with the breathing. Now, a slow practice like this is not to be underestimated. It's a powerful practice. So we sometimes may not feel as if we're doing too much. And that's good in a certain way. We'll maybe feel it a few days later. And we may not feel it the way that we're maybe expecting to feel it. May just feel a freedom or a lightness, an ease of movement. Okay, let that hand come down underneath and then lift the head up and bring it back to the center. Okay, so once we're back to the center, just allow the head just to move around. I'm going to take the arms out to the sides and then bring them around. So we're going to take one arm on top of the other one, bringing the palms together if we can. Now, once we have the palms together, we're going to draw back a little bit through the belly. We're going to lift the chest and then pulling those elbows down. So we feel the top part of the back, just dipping, just moving forward, dipping down, and then bring the forehead towards the thumbs, the forehead in towards the thumbs. Now notice whether we're unnecessarily scrunching up in the shoulders. You should feel a long stretch out the top of the back, spacing out just between the shoulder blades. So getting right into those, the rhomboids, giving them a little bit of space, but just clearing that space along the back, unraveling that fascia. Space then for the joints to move. Now there's lots of things that can happen when we working into this practice. Again, it works on an emotional level rather than just the physical level. So lots of things can often be going through the head. So things are frustration. You may convince yourself that you don't particularly like this type of practice. It's because it can be quite challenging just sitting still. Highlights your weak points. Okay, and then slowly start to come back up and unravel the arms. Remember which way you folded the arms, taking the arms out. And then we do again on the other side. So bringing the arms out to the sides and then changing that crossover, bringing the hands in. Okay, draw back on the belly, lift the chest, draw the elbows down, and then bringing the forehead down towards the thumbs. So find your edge, feel that stretch across, especially on the top part of the back. Maybe around the shoulders. Notice whether you're unnecessarily scrunching up and tensing around the tops of the shoulders. Be aware of your attitude. And just keeping soft, smooth breath. And just simply breathing, just watching, just being aware of any changes as they happen. And if they don't, they may be just subtle enough for you not to actually notice any changes right at this moment in time. And that's fine. Okay, after the next breath, slowly start to unravel and then undoing with the arms. Okay, so just bringing yourself just onto your hands and knees now. So we can just, or you can hang on to a block or hang on to a cushion or something. So just to be able to go underneath the head. Now on this one, on our tabletop one, so we're going to keep the bottom just edging back. So arms going to stretch forward. You can end up bending the elbows if you want and rest them down and having forehead down. So when we're there, we're aiming for in this top part of the back just to sink down towards the floor. You'll also feel a stretch here along the armpit skin. So from there, we're drawing the belly back, we're sitting back a little bit with the bum back, so we feel that right across the top part of the back. Again, don't beat yourselves up, just find your edge. When you find your edge, then you're still. So this point of being still is our doorway to doing and finding our true selves. Again, just noticing whether the mind is starting to play tricks. Maybe want the body to move. You may convince yourself that you don't feel particularly comfortable or something's not right with it. All this is just the mind playing tricks. It's just if there's an area which needs working on, and sometimes we convince ourselves that we don't really need to be there, we don't need to try and work through it, it's fine as it is. All these are just distractions, just taking us away from who we really are. It's easier sometimes just to allow the body just to put up with whatever there is rather than working through it. So all there is just to allow the body just to surrender to this feeling. Now notice whether you are actually surrendering down to it or you feel as if you're forcing into it. So we can be here roughly for about 3 minutes. Just take a couple more breaths. And then slowly start to move back. When you move back, taking the bottom back towards the heels, you can take your knees out a little bit wider. Bring your cushion in again and placing the head down, and just let the hands come back by the feet. So we're only going to be here just a short while, just a minute or so, just to allow the shoulders just to accommodate that last move. So if you manage to find any of those little slumps that the body does when we know it's starting to release and let go, you're still just hanging on. Sometimes we focus and we try too hard to focus on the breathing. So just simply watching, simply observing. Just take a couple more breaths. And then slowly start to come back up. Okay, so just rolling the shoulders. Now you can either have a cushion underneath your head or a block underneath the head. So let me just show you where we're going. If you're having your cushion there, so we're going to again be onto the hands and knees. Now we're going to take our left arm and that's going to come through. So as it comes through, we bring the shoulder down to the floor and we can just rest the head onto a cushion, a blanket, just straight down onto the mat if you want it there. Now we keep the bottom edging back and this hand here pushing down onto the floor. So I've got my left arm coming through and I've got my right hand just edging down into it just to help to take me a little bit more into that twist so I can bring that arm through. And then holding there. Again, just allow the attention just to be on the breathing. Just allow the body to settle. Find your edge. So remember, you may hit that spot where you feel that your edge is gone. If that is the case, just making a tiny adjustment just so you still feel as if you have that edge. And again, just remember, you may not feel it in the area which we're working. You may feel that somewhere completely different. You can also start to bring in memories, start to come up, connective tissue holds, memories in the body, scars, trauma. It's not unusual during a practice like this to all of a sudden just have something popping into the head that was maybe from about 25 years ago or longer. Okay, so I'm going to just push down with the hand, bring it back through. Oh, placing the arm down. Just sit back for a moment, head down, just let the arms soften. So I'm going to come up and I'm just going to turn myself this way around. So you don't need to, you're just going to be working onto the other arm. Okay, so when you're ready, just bring yourselves back up again. And we have the hands there, so I'm going to slide the other hand this time. So I've got my right arm coming through my head down onto the blanket, and I'm just pushing my left hand just into the floor. So as I push my left hand down, and I can start to feel a little bit more of my edge. I feel that twist going into the side, onto the right side of my back, and then across on the shoulders, across the top part of my back. So again, just notice how it feels for you. The one side felt easier than the other. And sometimes when we work with the yin practice, you're not actually feeling anything at all like the next day or the day after that. And sometimes it's not until a few weeks later that maybe we start to get old habits of working start to come back in. And then we think, oh, actually I was all right. And now I'm feeling a little bit more achy again there. So if it starts to free off an area, sometimes when the body is working well, we only really know to complain when we have something to complain about. So if the body's working well, we don't always kind of pat ourselves on the back about it. We'll just have another minute here. Couple more breaths. And then slowly start just to come back up. Again, just sit back so you can rest with the forehead down. And after we've taken a few breaths, just bringing yourselves back up. Okay, so I'm just going to show you now part of the pose where we're going, and then I'm going to bring myself back up and turn around. So it's just to be able to show you where one arm is going. So we're going to start off, so I'll show you this way and then I'll turn around, with the left arm going out to the side. And then we would bend our right leg. And what happens is we start to push over and bring the foot so it goes back behind. The other hand is pushing down. So it was mainly just to show you this left arm at the back, because you won't be able to see it so much when when I turn around. So I'm just going to turn myself around now. You can have, again, just have a blanket or something just underneath your head, or one of your yoga blocks on there. So my left arm is going out to the side, so you can all got your left arm out to the side. Right hand, push it down into the mat or into the floor. Bend your right leg and then lift that leg up and take it up and over. So it goes behind the other leg, the foot pushing down. And then we're just pushing our right hand into the floor. And it starts to, you'll feel that little bit of stress going through onto the left shoulder. Again, just find your edge. Remember, we're not working to work into that edge, we're just working at that edge. So we're not increasing that stretch by stressing it to work into it. We're just increasing that range of motion on that shoulder just by easing and surrendering into our edge. Again, you can always just close the eyes. Again, just notice, are you able to surrender into it? Is the body just fighting, your mind fighting against it? You're just resisting. Couple more breaths. And then just bring back over onto your front. Just lay with your head at one side, just the arms out to the side, just take a breath. And at the end of that exhalation, then taking the opposite arm out to the side, we bend up with the leg, the opposite leg, push the hand in, and we turn, and we're moving over, so with the head down. I'm just going to bring myself up, I do the same, facing the other way. So if you're unsure again, it's arm out to the side. We bend the leg, bring that leg up and over. The hand pushing down. Soft, smooth breath. So there's often a huge difference on the shoulders, where we carry our bags. And even it's stemming back to being pulled around by parents when you were a baby. So them always picking the same arm and always kind of pulling you along. It's going to also have a massive effect on the connective tissue. Could be in a job which always has areas of repetition in it. And just stressing out the connective tissue. So this sort of practice is a good leveler. And just take a couple more breaths here. And then coming back over. And turn the head this time to the opposite side. Just bring your hands down by your side. Just closing your eyes. Take a few breaths. Fully commit to that breath. Okay, now bring the hands in just level with your shoulders. Push yourself back up. Take the bottom back towards the heels just for a moment. And then you're going to bring yourselves back up again just onto that tabletop. Again, if you do have a bolster, you can use that. So that can be in front of you. So the idea is we're just going to rest over the bolster with the arms there. If you don't have a bolster there, you can use your blocks. Let me just show you with the blocks. So if you're using those, you just have one there and one in front. So that will also do the same thing and just help prop you up. Okay, so we can rest there. So any area which feels as if it's going to kind of have a little bit of a gap between you and the floor, you can just fill it up using any of the props that you have. So just resting here just for a moment. So legs are stretching back, chest is nice and open. Hands are just gently pushing down. We're mainly just propped up by your bolster or the blocks. If it feels too high, just bring yourself down a little bit. Maybe just kind of working with the blocks or just push the bolster forward. Okay. So just being aware that the shoulder blades are moving down towards your waist. Just one more breath. And then we can just get the hands just underneath the props, push back, so really draw back through your belly, take the bottom back towards your heels, head down. Okay, so we're just going to bring ourselves down now to lying down. If you have got your belt handy, if you haven't got a bolster, this is, or if you're using just firm cushions and things, you can use your the belt round your legs, and that way you're just going to feel nice and relaxed. You'll be able to relax a little bit more into it. So we can just have the belt round. So I'm going to show you just as if you haven't got a bolster there. Okay, so the legs can just relax. We can take the blocks in, but have them flat and just in towards the body. And then the legs can just relax out. And they can just push into the belt. And we're going to lay ourselves flat and just let the feet just fall out to the sides. So inner arms and palms facing up towards the ceiling. Again, just allow the legs just to push onto your belt. If you're using a dressing gown cord, just make a loop on it, just place a knot in it. And get that so the legs are actually just pushing against it. Our hands are just away from the sides, the palms facing up. We're going to take 3 breaths there, and then we're going to have 3 breaths, just bringing the hands in onto the belly. And then let the hands just fold in. So as you inhale, feel the belly just gently start to expand. As you exhale, let the belly just sink back towards the spine. Now after that 3rd breath, I'm going to just start to bring the legs up. And just grab hold of your belt. And if you've just got a knot in a dressing gown cord, just kind of pull it tight and just maybe wrap it round a couple of times or something just to keep it there. So it's pulled a lot tighter this time. And then again, just placing the legs down, let the feet fall out to the sides, and just have the inner arms and palms facing up towards the ceiling. Just going to bring the chin in, let the head just gently turn side to side. And then bringing your head back to the center. Allow the attention then just to fall on the breathing. So we're not forcing the breath in any way, we're not changing it. Just fully surrendering to that breath. And then after a few breaths, we feel that the breath, there's no effort to it. It's almost silent. There's hardly any movement. The breath then becomes more contained inwards. Feel the belly sinking back internally. We feel the chest, a slight movement of the chest, again internally. Feel that soft rhythm of the breath. Inhale and exhale internally. So holding here for a few more breaths. Enjoy every part of that breath. From the beginning of the inhalation to the end of the inhalation. Maybe a slight pause. Enjoying the whole of the exhalation. Beginning and end. Everything in between. Just let the sound now just gently start to bring you round, to wake the body. Just being aware of your surroundings, being aware of how you feel. Bring back your sense of taste. Swallow a couple of times. Your sense of touch. You maybe run your fingers over the mats or over your clothes. Blink your eyes open. And then from there, take a good stretch. Now when you take a good stretch, stretch in a way that the body feels it needs to stretch, not how you think you should stretch. So the method is pandiculation. It's when you watch an animal, a cat or a dog, when they start to wake and they start to move around, they'll do certain movements and they often become kind of stretched out, maybe rigid in parts and really stretching out. And often accompanied by, not so much by cats, but maybe by children. So take a good stretch, be vocal. We have a saying in our classes of be more Rick. So Rick doesn't mind being vocal. So we all need to be a bit more Rick. Okay, and then bring yourselves up to sitting. Bring the palms together. Again, just close the eyes just for a few moments. Bring your thoughts back of your intention. Time dedicated to yourself. Taking the hands up over the crown. And slowly start to draw the hands down. That's the Ajna chakra, our intuitive center. The Vishuddha, we speak our truth and listen well. The Anahata, our center for love and compassion. The Manipura, is our will and our drive. Svadhisthana, for creating change when we need to. And the Muladhara, at the base of the spine, our strength and our stability. Just bringing the hands back to the Anahata chakra. And just knowing that the practice you've done today was solely for yourself, and you'll benefit from that. But the energy that you created during your practice, just bring to mind someone you feel could do with a little bit of help right now, and then dedicate that part of your practice to them. And then softly open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. If you want to see more of what I do, if you subscribe somewhere at the bottom there, and if you press the bell, it will notify you of any up and coming videos and things which I've got on here. Or visit my website, www.SucramYoga.co.uk. Okay, thank you. And stay safe and stay well.